Well, hey, good evening, gardening friends. So tonight we're gonna go the homemade ant trap route. Kind of give you a little update. So I've been battling the ants here for the last week or so. I've hit their nest with thieves cleaner. I've hit it with raid. I set bait traps all around it, and they just they persist. So a couple of you viewers out there suggested, well, why don't you make a homemade trap? There's a lot of recipes out there. A lot of them, most of them involving borax, which is typically like a laundering detergent that, when ingested by the ants, will disrupt their digestive system, basically starve them out, or will get in their exoskeleton, and it's kind of a grit that will wear a hole, perforations in their exoskeleton, cause them to dehydrate. A lot of these traps involve, baiting it with peanut butter or sugar or honey or something sweet, jelly, to attract them to that. They're attracted to the sugar, the honey, or whatever the food source is. They'll grab that, but they'll also take back the borax and ingest that, feed it to their colony and all of that. And it can take a while, depending on, from what I read anyway, depending on the size of the colony, it can take a while to get rid of them completely, but ultimately that seems to work, and it works a lot better, supposedly, than the store-bought stuff. Which, the immediate contact store-bought stuff works. It just doesn't solve the root issue, which is the queen and the greater colony. I mean, they just come back. So kind of where we're at tonight is there's been some activity still, not near as much on that one outlet that I've blasted a few times now. But they've tried a couple different avenues to relocate their hive or their colony. They have, the other night there was a trail of ants where they tried to make their home underneath one of my grow trays. So I got the wet dry vac out and sucked out all their food stores, eggs, whatever they had there, and I don't know, probably about 200 to 300 ants, if I had to estimate. So tonight, I'll just bring you along here. What I've got mixed up here is some sugar. It was a half a cup of sugar, a tablespoon and a half of the borax, which I'm using with the mint lighter stuff because it's got boron in it, but borax detergent, and a cup and a half of warm water, and it's getting there. Then I got a wad of cotton balls, and what they suggest is you just soak the cotton balls in that solution, right? So we're going to put a few in there, let that soak up the borax and sugar. And then what I'm going to do is place some cotton balls where I'm seeing activity, where they're looking at this other outlet now. It looks like I've seen them coming across. There's a few. Like I said, they're not as numerous in number, but there are a few, and they're making their way over to the outlet. There's been a few on the or there were a few on the table here, but I think they got the idea that they weren't welcome. So they've been crawling around down here. There's some there. So I'm going to put some balls, some cotton balls along the bench here where I'm seeing the ants. Try to tuck a couple up there in the their little trail, and we'll see what happens. So let's put this on the tripod here. I don't have any, actually I can rinse off my hand a little bit. Got some water. And we'll try to be strategic. We'll see if they like the little sugar rush there. See if they're going to be attracted to that. We'll stick another cotton ball maybe on this other side here. Try to put them where I see it. Now there's an ant that is investigating the sugar and borax. I think likes it. Here comes another one. We'll stick another one right there. And we'll go ahead and stick one more over by the old trap. So I've got one by the outlet there, one on the table where I've seen them. I might put a few more there because seems to be an entry point for them. And I've got a couple of these sugar balls, cotton balls along the edge there. Let's put one more for good measure. Wash my hands and then I'll show you. I'll show you that. So I don't know if you can see that. There's already a couple ants feeding on that. That worked out. I mean, they're drawn to it. Couple up there. And I put two over there, and there's already one eating on it. So we'll see if it works, right? Like I said, it might take a while. Just have to give it some time. But from what I've read online, is the borax is the trick. So let's move that over there for now. Maybe we'll come back to that later if we need to use more. So while that's going on, as far as seedling update, again, the peppers are looking really nice. Really starting to come out. We're starting to get some true leaf action on some of them. So I really need to be transplanting these soon before they get, they're really start competing. I mean, they're already competing a little bit, being as spaced as close as they are, but they're still small yet. Need to make sure I'm feeding them, so I'll probably hit them with the constant feed again tonight, just because they are grouped so close together. We do have one pepper sprout. So I imagine I'll see a few more next couple days. It's been right at about a week or so. Maybe not quite a week. So that's kind of encouraging that we're getting some progress there. My romaine lettuce, it is growing pretty quick. This outer side where it's furthest away from the light and the wall is the slowest growing so far. So since this tray's on wheels, we're just going to flip that around, and I'll have to put my probe back in because I must have hit the wheel, or yeah, I rolled over that. So we'll have to pull that through. Might need to investigate down here. I'm seeing some ants going down below. But anyway, we're going to flip this around to give this side some preferred growing time. So we'll leave that there for the next day or two and let that get caught up and let everything kind of get oriented. Maybe move this tray just a little bit further over. And then we'll put our probe back in the ground. Slide that like so. This light is deceptive because, about 6-7 inches of this in, there's no light at all. This is where the LED, mechanisms are kind of housed. And then the lights come on over. So these trays really need to be pushed more this way so they get more of this light. So we'll go ahead and fertilize our peppers. I'll bring you along for that. And for this, what we're going to do is I've got a solo cup here. You can use a funnel, but it's got a hole drilled in. I'm just going to put my finger over that hole. At least I think. Unless I can find my smaller cup. So what we're going to do is I'll mix up our mid-ladder constant feed. Which again is 1 teaspoon of the weekly feed per 1 gallon of water. I've got a cup here that's got a couple holes drilled in it. What I'm going to do is not fill this cup up very much because I don't want it to just shower down. I want it to kind of drip down, so maybe about halfway up. That's pretty good. Well, what we'll do, I'll get a funnel here so the unused mix I can pour back into the gallon jug. And that's pretty well that. As far as the lettuce, I don't need to do a whole lot with that yet. I'll wait till it's sprouted a little bit higher before I start feeding that. You know, if I feed it now, I risk potentially washing these out, and I don't want to put the handkerchief back on there because I don't want to smash the sprouts that are coming up now. So we're just going to wait for a little bit. And I think what I may do at some point is get another sprayer. You know, right now I've got the one that's got the BioThrive Grow stuff in it. But potentially get me another one that would just have, you know, I can mix up a batch of the constant feed, strain out the substrate so I don't have that stuff in the bottom that you can kind of hear. It's at the bottom. There's some substrate that holds fertilizer. It's just doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose now, but it's in there. I'd want to strain that out so it doesn't clog up the sprayer. But we get that all rigged up and it should work out pretty good. So, trying to think if there's anything else going on. Not a whole lot. I need to just make some time to get some stuff done that I need to do. I'll probably look through my seeds tonight, get those ready to go, and maybe take them to work with me tomorrow so I can get them mailed out to Frank. Um, get some pots ready, maybe get um, the grow mix ready so that I can pot up my pepper plants. I will definitely be doing that. It looks like this weekend, if not sooner, depending how tomorrow night goes. And then I need to get my tomatoes started. So there's things to do for sure to stay on top of things. And then the other thing I'm planning on doing is getting some more of these Bountiful Harvest grow boxes. So far, the one that's got the butter crunch in it's working out great. So I think what I'd like to do is get a couple more, where maybe I've got 5, maybe up to 7 of these boxes out front, and just have them staggered like every 3 or 4 weeks, so that as we are picking and harvesting one, it looks like there would be enough salad, at least for my size family, that we could pick probably 2 salads for a meal out of that box. And then it would grow, and then maybe we would start picking on the other box. But anyway, try to stagger them so that once we're completely done harvesting a box, like it's the lettuce is grown out and it's basically crown, and not fit for eating or whatever, I can cycle that box out, replant it, get some seeds started, get the sprouts growing, and then still, and then go on to the next box. So I'm eating out of the next box while that one's growing. And by the time we would get to back to that first box that we harvested originally, it would be regrown. I'd have new seed that would be regrown again. So to get some greens growing, I don't know exactly how many boxes I would need to do that, because I also plan on doing some stuff out at Dad's house. But I think it'd be really neat to have it here. It'd be pretty convenient to harvest. So I'm going to try to get a few more of these and see what we can do with them. Experiment this year with that. Other than that, just studying a little bit. There's a lot of useful proverbs that, studying the scriptures and things like that. There's one, it's in Proverbs 24:27, and the idea is that it talks about preparing your fields, your outside work, getting your outside work done, then build your house. And there's a couple different applications with that, but the general gist of that is just kind of doing, prioritizing work, getting the right things right, focusing on first things first, and the idea there, I guess back in those times, it was important to get your fields ready and get things prepared so that, because the fields were going to be what supported your family, and would give you food and produce for, potentially years to come. And so just thinking about that, what that means for me and and my family, what I need to be doing now, as far as just making sure that we're ready for what's to come, depending on the economy or whatever. But also just just in general, prioritizing things, focusing on getting first things first, focusing on the right things. I think in a greater context, a lot of churches right now are meeting online. They're strategizing, trying to figure out how to keep things going and whatever. I think it's an opportune time really to try to get people, equip them so that they're not dependent on others, but they've got a real live, you know, personal relationship with the Lord, and able to survive and be sustained, you know, even if it's in a smaller context, you know, mostly, at least right now, kind of isolated on your own, you know, if you were in that situation, you know, how can you keep the faith, or, you know, maintain your walk and stuff. So it's just real important to know how to study the scriptures and just cultivate that personal relationship, you know, personal disciplines and things like that, you know, and then teaching others how to do that, potentially, you know, as far as thinking about churches and maybe things that they should be doing, or, you know, would be good right now, is really teaching them the habits of grace, if you will, you know, things that should be a result of what the Lord's done for us. You know, we should have a desire to want to do those things, you know, read the Bible, pray, things like that. So anyway, going back to that verse, you know, the context of that, you know, preparing your fields, you know, there's a lot of imagery in the scriptures about, you know, in the parables and things like that, about the fields being representative of the world and people's hearts. You know, like the parable of the sower is about the condition of people's hearts, you know, and the seed is the gospel, you know, the message of the good news of Jesus Christ and things like that. You know, and it falls on some hearts, you know, and they don't receive it. Their hearts are hard to it. The enemy comes and snatches it away. You know, there's others where falls on the ground, so to speak. It takes root. They're real excited, but they have no depth, because they, you know, maybe they came with ulterior motives or whatever, and when trials and hardships come, they fade away. And then still others where it falls on path where it's thorns, and, you know, the gospel, the good news takes root. They have a personal relationship, but it's kind of somewhat choked out by the things of the world, the desires of the world, deceitfulness of riches, the desires for other things. Choke the word, you know, and they're not, it doesn't really produce anything in their life. There's no fruit in terms of like a changed life. They're still caught up in the things of the world and all that. And then finally, you know, that falls on the good ground, the ground that's ready to receive it, takes root, produces 10, 50, 100 fold, right? And that's ultimately where we want to be, is being fruitful, you know, and growing in our walk with the Lord. And there's a lot of people, a lot of churches that focus on the wrong thing. You know, it's about getting as many people as possible in, and it's about advertising, and about a slick marketing campaign, or it's about ritual or religion, or it's about money, any number of things, and it's not the main thing. It's not really focused. It's not Christ-centered, and it's not really focused on helping people just cultivate a humble daily walk with the Lord. So anyway, going back to that verse, you know, preparing your outside work in the fields, you know, there's an application there in that, you know, for I think churches too, like, you know, preparing people's hearts, you know, being the good farmer, so to speak, and you know, breaking up the fallow ground of people's hearts through just speaking the truth in love, you know, sharing the good news, being real, loving others, things like that, and teaching people how to take hold of the scriptures for themselves, how to study, how to open the word, how to understand it, you know, how to study it and apply it. Basically discipleship type stuff. You know, you focus on that, and you focus on those things, the things that really matter, the things that are going to endure when all the kind of activity and promotion and media and all that stuff ends, what are you left with? If you focus on the real stuff, it's going to have lasting value, and ultimately those people are going to be able to stand up under all the things that we face in this world, and represent the Lord well, and be at peace, be humble and really know what it is to walk with the Lord and be at peace, and have a quality of life that people are seeking after and they want, but they're pursuing things that aren't going to lead to that. It's they're pleasurable. It's fun for a season, but in the end, it's it leads to death. And separation and just pain and suffering and things like that. So anyway, I know that's kind of a little tangent, kind of added here on this little video about how are we gonna kill these ants and grow stuff, but it's important. It's kind of what's been noodling around at least tonight and thinking about things, and especially in light of context that a lot of people are isolated right now and not able to maybe the things they depended on, especially like relationships and other people and connections and activity and just staying busy and all that stuff's kind of faded away. And it's like, what are they left with? Well, there's media, to try to keep you occupied, but it's an opportune time to really think about, and focus on things that they're going to have lasting value. So anyway, I think this is going to be kind of a short stream tonight. We'll work on getting some things done here, and I'll catch you guys next time. Till next time, happy gardening.